Hey everybody, this is a re-upload of the original Light Greatswords video. There was some issues with the music in the original, so yeah, enjoy. In my journey through Elden Ring's new DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, I decided I wanted to test out one of the new weapon classes, the Light Greatswords. They're like greatswords, but skinny. I want to see exactly how good they are. So, I'm going to beat every major boss in Shadow of the Erdtree with just these new pointy stabbies. Before I begin, I wanted to point out that most of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed. So please, subscribe. Or don't. I don't know, it's up to you. On to the video. I start the run on a character at level 140 that's cleared most of the main game. I grab the weathered arm and am teleported straight into Purgatory. First, I head to the Scorched Ruins to get the Blade of Mercy, which buffs your damage after riposts. My next objective is to gather a couple of the Skadoodle fragments to increase my power in the DLC. With that bit of juice acquired, I now get to claim my main weapon for this run, the Milady. I upgrade it to plus 25 and go to test out the moveset. It's a bit weird to be honest. The light attack is a nice poke, but the heavy and charged heavy attacks are double slashes. The cool thing though, is these attacks finish in an upward or downward position, and you can chain them together super fluidly. It looks pretty, so I like it. With that done, I decide to make my way to my first boss. I bust on into Bellarat and speedrun through it, only stopping to grab the one Skittle located here. I make it to the boss room, only to realize I've made a critical error. I got no drip. So we quick head back to the starting area to fight the Black Jail Knight. Time to get a real test of this weapon's damage. Good enough. I have the quality infusion on my sword since it has the highest damage numbers and bigger number equals better weapon. It's still not crazy good because this guy has the health of a full-grown bear, but I make do and acquire a full package of swag for my efforts. Drip equipped, I set up my build for the first real boss of the run, and it's pretty simple. I'm rocking the Ritual Sword and Shield with the Dragon Crest and Charge Attack talismans. I have the Opaline Hard tier and the Stance Break tier in the Physic. I'm gonna try to see if Stance Abuse is good with the Light Greatswords. I also have a level 5 Shadow Blessing because I was too lazy to get more. With that, I get to face my first remembrance. Two dudes dressed like a cat. I get to work against the double furries, and there isn't too much fancy stuff going on besides the Craigblade rocks on my sword, which get me an uber fast stagger. You know what else is really fast? Me and your mom. Sorry, the attacks on this sword. I'm normally a smooth brain who hits one attack at a time, but with the Light Greatsword slick moveset, I feel like I can get in 2 or 3 swipes pretty easily. In terms of first impressions, Milady is making a pretty great one. I was worried it was going to feel slow with the double swing attacks, but it's exactly the opposite actually. I think I'm already a big fan of this weapon. I've almost finished up this fight, so either I've gotten better at the DLC, or this sword is cracked. And I definitely haven't gotten better. Hey! First try, cause the cat is dog shit, or because the greatsword's really good. One of the two. Time to skip Castle Insis entirely by taking the secret spirit spring located to the east. This lets me get a couple more Skadargle fragments, and once that's finished, I upgrade my blessing to a level 8 and decide to take on Castle Enos. And by take on, I simply mean run through. One of the only difficult enemies in the castle is Moonrithel, but I just crouched right past him to pick up Rellana's cameo. This will boost my attack damage if I hold a stance. This can be used on something like Unsheath, where you hold a pose before attacking. It can also be used on one of the new Ashes of War in the DLC, Wing Stance. This Ash of War gives you 2 attacks. By holding L2, you assume a T-pose stance, and a heavy attack leads to a leaping stab, while a light attack does a couple of slashes. To properly abuse this, I put on Rellana's cameo, Alexander's Shard, and the Blade of Mercy with the Stone Barb cracked tier. My plan is to fight fake Rellana, stagger her, then profit. Let's see if it works. Oh, hold on. I cooked. No, yeah, this is pretty goated. I'm a fan. The build is sick, and I find out some cool stuff about the wing stance as the battle continues. Turns out that because you jump in the air, you can actually dodge boss attacks with the Ash of War, which makes it incredibly useful. Combine that with the dummy thick damage this weapon is doing, and I'd go as far as saying this may be an optimal Rellana fighting weapon. Which is good, because I'm still mad she doesn't have her feet out like her sister, so I need to destroy in this fight.
It fucking jumped, nerd.
Yeah. Oh, bro, this shit's fucking busted. T-pose on him. Yeah, that's right. Having conquered the anti-foot shower, I can now get her light greatswords from her remembrance. More importantly though, I get her armor, which is much more thematically accurate for this run. The new swords also use a bunch of faith and int, so I go to Rellana to respec to use her dead sister's swords. No one tell her that though. With my new pointy stabbies, I make my way to the front of the Shadowkeep. I struggle with a build for the new swords, but end up deciding on magic and fire tiers since they do magic and fire damage. And keep the cameo and jar shard equipped since I plan to abuse my new L2s. Just kidding. Turns out the new Ashes of War are kinda hard to use here. They take a minute to get off, and the hippo kinda likes to jump in when you try to make space, so I end up getting bitted and dying. Rest in piss, deathless run. I was close. Then I die again because I really want to kill this guy with my Ashes of War. Alright, time to reassess the strat. The 2 attacks from my L2 aren't exceptional, so I decide to just start stabbing. And these weapons' attack patterns are a bit weird. Trying to two-hand these swords results in a power stance, aka dual wielding, which is cool. But for whatever reason, while most weapons' power stance attacks are activated with L1, this weapons are activated with R1. It's a little change, and I think it's so the combo attacks work for dual wielding, but it's really strange to get used to. Luckily, I'm nothing if not adaptable, so I adjust and murder the porcupine disguised as a hippo. We dodge, and we poke in the ass. Beautiful, boys. Alright. Thought the L2 was gonna be good? Really wasn't that good. If you know about Shadow of the Erdtree, then you know there is an awful NPC gang fight towards the end of the main quest. In order to make it less awful, I'm going to kill Hornscent, who normally spawns at that fight. To do that, I must simply talk to him, then talk to Lita, and by doing this, she decides she must murder him. I'm sure there was some reasoning behind it, but I wasn't paying attention. Anyways, there's now a summoning thingy at Shadowkeep where I pick Lita's side and we double team this man's. Yeah, not so fun now, is it, you nerd? This is a pretty easy fight. I just do some shanking and dude mostly stays distracted with Lita, so I get a quick and easy win. Having cleaned that up, I make some quick detours to get the two-handed talisman for a damage boost to two-handed weapons. Crazy, I know. Who would have thought that talisman did that? I also stop in Bonnie Village for the Oh Mother emote to access a top secret hidden passage later. With that done, I enter the flooded church district in Shadowkeep and use my impressive detective skills to find a lever and release Messmer's bathwater. Nice. I progress downward through the maze that is Shadowkeep towards the Skadoop Tree avatar. To beat him, I once again try to use the L2-R2 Flame Tornado combo with Rellana's swords. And I am once again disappointed by it. I thought, because the sunflower is weak to fire, this would be better, but I was mistaken. The plant then proceeds to pound me for my contributions to global warming, and I decide to rethink my strategy. He is weak to fire, so I take Milady back out and attune it to the element of flame. I add the Fire Scorpion charm to my build, and head back to see if I can get bigger numbers to make the symbol monkey in my brain happy. That's better. Now, the fight is chill. I just wait until the weed lowers its head to engage in a staring contest and give it the big poke. He doesn't really seem to be able to figure out it's a bad idea to gaze directly at me, so I rinse and repeat this strat through all 3 phases. My only real worry in this fight is the holy nuke that the sunflower uses in phase 3. I've barely got the hang of dodging this, and it's honestly a 50-50 on if I can avoid it still. Fortunately for me, I happen to win the coin flip and not choke on a massive holy bomb. And bang! Okay, there it is. That was a lot cleaner. Milady's just too good. With another remembrance taken care of, I feel the itch of adventure and seek out a secret passage in Shadowkeep that leads me to a stone coffin that will float off a waterfall when I add my weight to it. Mathematically, that makes no sense, but I digress. This gives me access to a whole new area that I essentially skip, besides killing 2 hippos I find in vengeance for their father or mother, ruining my deathless run. They also give me Scooby-Doo fragments, so that's an added bonus. I keep running through this whole section until I get to the Darklight Catacombs. I'm supposed to turn on lights so I can see in this place, but torches exist, so I completely ignore the puzzle aspect of this area and tiptoe my way on through till I meet Jory. This summoning prick has been an annoyance through my last few runs, but now I know the tech. Turns out the summon spammer has a backstab loop. The first time I try it though, I kinda mess it up, but the second time, bang, 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 This is straight up abuse, and turns a very annoying fight into a quick and calculated destruction. I heckin' love when the community finds that good cheese for me to use. Yeah, you're not getting out of here, buddy. Hey. That's right. Oh, that felt so good. I'm so glad you can do that to that boss. I can now venture into the Abyssal Woods where Torrent abandons me. Here, there are the new madness enemies that are heavily implied to be unkillable, which is a lie. If you wish to kill these demons, simply parry one and then riposta it. This does a lot of damage, but more importantly makes it mortal for the follow-up attacks. There, I have now edumacated you. You're welcome. Having slain the unslayable, I now skeet my way through the rest of the forest into Midra's manse. I hop and skip my way through here, just kind of vibing it out until I arrive at Midra's boss room. I decide to try out a cold affinity on Milady here since I haven't really tested status effects yet. I then set up the same build I used for Rellana before I head in to fight baby Midra. This little guy had a bit more health than I expected, but I take care of him and unlock Big Daddy Midra. The early damage is looking okay, and the early technique is looking flawless. Look at that crouch dodge. Immaculate. I immediately get a stagger following my busted tech, and find out that my build is more than functional for this fight. Even with heavy damage though, this fight takes a minute. For whatever reason, Midra has the most health of any boss in the DLC. I know that sounds like a lie, but it's true. My guy has 47,000 health. For reference, that is more than 2 Elden Beasts. Weird measurement to use, but I feel like it works. I think the giga health and damage they gave this guy is why his moveset feels a bit toned down. He's actually a really simple boss to learn, and I've been wondering why. But he does hit like a truck, and that with his roided up Vig stat has helped me understand why a bit better. Still, there's only room for one Lord of the Frenzied Flame, and that's me. So, I have to put down this imposter. Oh, I might be able to finish him right here. T-pose! Damage! Not quite. Gotta finish it with the T-pose. Bang! Holy shit, dude. I mean, god damn. Light Greatswords are just too good, bro. I'm just burning through this fucking game. Holy hell. Wonderful. Having established that I am the Lord of Chaos, I decide it's time to make a bit of a journey. First, I get Savage Lion's Claw for my sword because I haven't ever used this Ash of War, and I wanted to do something nice for myself. I head into the Dragon's Pit and yeet myself off a ledge for an honorable death that I am unfortunately robbed of. I direct my anger at this fact towards the Ancient Dragon Man. I have Bleed on Milady since status effects seem good on the Light Greatsword, and my L2 gives me a ton of range and staggers the old Dragon Boy. All in all, he's already pretty screwed. Bleed was clearly a great choice here since I get 2 procs during the fight. Conclusion? Sword good for NPC fights. The actual purpose of this Bleed sword was not the Ancient Dragon Man, however. I head up the mountain for the true heart this blade is destined for. Bam! I try out the Lion's Claw immediately and am incredibly disappointed by the damage, so I bail on that idea. It also takes forever to proc the Bleed, and because of that I get overly aggressive trying to keep the status up over the course of the fight, which results in death. Then I keep trying that same thing and keep dying. Very strange. So it's time to fully rework the plan. I decide to give Rellana's twin swords a try since they have more pierce attacks and Bayle is weak to the poke. I also do the Dragon Crest Great Shield, Millicent's Prosthesis, Godskin Swaddling Cloth, and Erdtree's favorite talismans. There wasn't a lot of good reasoning here. I just kind of figured these would be the best from the options I had. I also toss in the magic damage tier for some more damage and give this super random build a run. Off rip, I'll take the damage. The attacks are very quick, and it's not too hard to get in a couple swings to proc my 2 consecutive attack talismans. Also, pro tip for Bayle, unlike most other dragon fights in this game, I've found that ankle biting is not the right answer in this fight. Rather, we must channel our inner raver and embrace headbanging. It's a lot easier to read moves and dodge when you stay in front of the Balrog instead of under him. It's also beta to spend your time under the boss. Be an alpha and face him head on. I did say Midra has the most health of any boss, which is statistically true, but Bayle feels like he has the most health. This is a marathon of a battle, but I've got a build that makes no sense, so at this point, he doesn't have any counterplay. Alright, 1 punish. to punish. Let's go. Holy shit. That was by far the hardest boss so far. I didn't think Rellana's swords were going to be good for anything, but they actually clutched the fuck up right there. With Zod defeated, I march my happy ass back to Shadowkeep and claw my way up the storeroom to find Messmer, the long stick haver. I try to give the Bloody Milady another go with the two-handed talisman, Jar Shard, and Ritual Sword for extra damage. Messmer opens with his big explodey, and I get to do a charged heavy. It's fairly simple to get hits in phase 1, and I am quickly rewarded with a bleed, which proves this weapon does have a good status buildup, just not against Bayle. I continue to double tap and evade until I am rewarded with a second bleed. Wonderful. Phase 2 is the more problematic part of this fight. None of the dodges are that much more difficult, but Messmer is very dedicated to making space after attacking and turning into a snake, so it's a bit more effort for me to get my hits in. Luckily, the bleed buildup on Milady is stupid, and I get third bleed, which is kinda ridiculous. That's another point in Milady's favor. Good status buildup. This weapon is just making the game too easy. Alright, here we go. Oh, this is gonna be so free. Finish him! Let's go! Alright. Still busted. Just let him know. Just gotta let him know real quick. With that done, I present to you my 2 cats. You're welcome. I now make my way into the Raw Ruins, where I summon Sensei Bushy to lead me through, ensuring I don't get lost on my way to the Church of Kush. Papa Bushy informs me of Romina's fire weakness, so I toss Rellana's swords back on with the Fire Scorpion charm and fire damage tier, then head in to cook the centipede. Step 1, test the L2R2 because flame tornadoes are cool. And I have finally found a use for this Ash of War, thank the Lord. I spam the Ash of War until I run out of FP, which results in me actually starting the fight with Romina at like half health. I heckin' love an unfair fight. I must now resort to the humble poke and slash attacks. I call them humble, but the regular moveset is still doing way too much damage. I'll take it. This fight has a couple of moves that are kind of annoying to dodge, so speed is of the essence for an unskilled player such as myself. I just have to deal like 50 times the damage the boss does though, and there won't be anything to worry about. T-pose! Hell yeah, dude. Now that I've killed the Bud Saint, I must commit arson to unlock the Shadow Castle. Yet another thing in this game that makes zero sense. The Shadow Castle is revealed as Inner Elam. I don't know. With the Shadow Castle revealed, I can skirt on through her to my least favorite thing in Elden Ring, NPC gank fight TM. Fortunately, I had foresight and have already murdered Hornsent and avoided all the other NPC quests. That just leaves Dane and Lita as my opponents. And I'm about to skip over 90% of the fight because you've already seen my whole strategy. Run, use wing stance, repeat until enemy is dead. Once that goal is achieved, I get Lita's sword, which is the final Light Greatsword in the DLC. New sword acquired, I can clean up the last few remembrance bosses I've specifically saved because they're weak to holy. First, Commander Gaius of the Boar. The only changes I make to my build in this fight are adding the Holy Scorpion and damage tier since my sword does holy damage. I know, that's pretty good thinking out of me. The fight starts off not very good. I keep getting hit and not dodging, and I'm also not hitting him back very much. By the time I've dealt with a third of his health, I've used 11 of my 14 heals. Statistically speaking, this is unsustainable. However, I am nothing if not clutch. Taking all those hits has allowed me to download the full move set, so I start cooking. Gaius has felt like a very janky fight to me for quite a while now, but for whatever reason on this run, I really found the rhythm. His left side is definitely the safest one to be on, but in general, all the combos leave big attack windows. It's just important that I stop being dumb like earlier, where I was trying to attack him every time he did anything. Turns out, the key to not sucking was just paying a little attention. Who'd have thunk it? Oh, got kicked in the face. Hey, fucking clutched it, dude. He's like all my heals in the first quarter of that fight. Now I get a bunch of skedaddly frags before continuing on my journey. The next victim is located deep in a hole that reminds me suspiciously of your mother, guarded by some very annoying snipers. I am of course speaking of the Putrescent Knight. I do try out Lita's sword's Ash of War on him, but it's not great. Perhaps I'm using it wrong. I mean, I have to be because I test out some regular attacks and the damage is just significantly better. The Knight's crippling weakness to Holy is shining through in this fight. Like, dude is already pretty easy to beat up, but with an optimized build, this is just embarrassing. I try to take mercy on him and end this as swiftly as possible. I'm not a bad guy. I don't want to shame this boss on the internet for being absolutely dog water, you know? Poke. Oh, I missed. We got him. That might be the easiest time I've had fighting a boss in this entire DLC. Just 2 bosses to go. First off, we have yet another quest to embark on. To start, I have a little chat with the creepy Emir and am sent to go blow some really long horns. Not liking this already. The first horn is easy enough to reach since I've already been to the Cerulean coast. The next horn requires I use that emote I picked up in Bonnie Village a while ago, which unlocks a secret passage. I stop in the sneaky new area to get some of Marika's yummy hair for later, before moving on to blow another horn. Still not liking how that sounds. Finally, after doing all that, I talk to Ymir, who says thank you and disappears. So I go ahead and give that chair the old snifferoo, and unlock yet another secret passage. Lots of hidden secrets in this quest. Now I have to fight Anna. And there's a way to cheese her into jumping off the ledge here, but I'm lazy, so I decided to just fight her, and she really is too easy and just gets smoked. I finally blow my third horn and find Finger Mommy. Turns out though, the Holy Sword is not doing bananas damage. With all the holy buffs I have on, I try out the regular Milady, and it's essentially the same damage. So I once again adjust the plan. I go back to a build designed to abuse the wing stance and Milady with a quality attunement, and head back in to wage war with the mighty Finger Mother. I'm not super impressed by the Ash of War damage, but regular heavy attacks are working just fine. It does take me a second to get a feel for the fight, but once I do, I start draining that red bar pretty quickly. It takes a while, and I do run out of flasks with a lot of the fight to go, but that's okay. I just have to once again clutch the fight after essentially choking the entire time. Surely I can do that. Alright, I actually might clutch. Holy shit. What are we doing here? Oh, I'm so fucking bad, but so fucking good. Yeah, that's right. You take your tactical retreat. We'll meet again. Now for the grand finale. For Radahn, I set up my build for holy and physical defense with the two-handed and axe talismans for a light damage boost. I've also returned to the bleed attunement because it makes this fight go a lot faster in my opinion. Then I get worked several times. When I got to this fight, I really wanted to finish the run under 20 deaths. It's not a high bar, but for a random run, it seemed like a good mark. So once I hit 20 deaths, I decided it's time to go all in. Phase 1 of this fight is really not that hard. The combos are pretty predictable, and once you've died enough, you start dodging them pretty well. I've died here a lot since the DLC came out, so I've become somewhat proficient at getting through Phase 1. I really like bleed in this fight, mainly for this first part. One proc takes a lot of time off the initial fight and lets you start working on Phase 2 sooner. Oh look, there's my bleed. Radahn with Mikola piggybacking has really been an issue for this community. A lot of people hate the light beams and have argued that it's too hard to see in the fight, and it's a BS way to increase the difficulty. Having fought him a lot, I don't know if I agree or disagree. I personally really like this fight and have enjoyed learning how to deal with it over the course of the last few weeks. All the attacks are easily dodgeable with some good strafing, but I have to stay very focused because as soon as I get hit, I lose the rhythm of the fight and it can be a pretty quick death from there. I'm not entirely sure where to scale this fight's difficulty. It's certainly a harder battle than most in the game, but I don't know yet if it's the hardest. I do know that with a Light Greatsword, this fight feels super smooth, and if you're using another weapon here, you're doing it wrong. All right, surely I survive. Bang, we got the blue back. Oh, we're in this bitch. Oh, and he did this for free. Okay. There's the bleed. All right, we got another one of these to deal with. Face me! Let's go! Holy shit. Light Greatswords are too fucking good. Well, that's it. I've slaughtered all the major bosses in Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree with only the new Light Greatswords. My conclusion? They're pretty good, but more importantly, they're fun. Final rating? 9 out of 10 because there aren't more of them. If you liked that video, check out some of my others on screen now. Until next time, be good, be kind. Adios.